Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my thoughts on Lightfalls Campaign, Strand, and how I feel about the future for this year. Let's start with the campaign. The campaign was pretty good. It wasn't as good as Witch Queen in my opinion, but it was still good nonetheless, right? We got a new subclass within that campaign. I think that it should have been introduced a little earlier, being that we can only use it for so long throughout the missions. I think that what would have been better was to maybe use it at the beginning when we first got it, after we commune with that Strand. I think that there should be a way to, or like a mission or something, to be able to unlock it and then progress through the campaign with that subclass. I don't necessarily like that they kind of gave it to us right at the end of the campaign, and for us to experience that with a portion of the subclass. I think that we should have gotten it at least halfway through the campaign or a little bit earlier on. The music in the campaign was also phenomenal. It's an amazing soundtrack. If you guys want to go listen to that, feel free to do that. I constantly am listening to that music over and over again on Spotify. It is fantastic. So musicians, thank you for the wonderful music that you guys provide for the game. Sound effect team, you guys did a phenomenal job on working with this unknown element, Strand. So Bungie, I appreciate that you guys did unlock the rest of the subclass after community feedback. Thank you for listening to the community. We appreciate it so much. However, I do think keeping a few Strand fragments locked away until after the raid is cool too. I think it's a very unique reward for the community. But the whole thing of releasing the fragments later on, like 3 days before the raid, it just doesn't make any sense, Let the players grind out, let the players do what they want to do with that. But I think it is a nice reward to have certain fragments locked behind that raid completion, regardless of how other people feel, but that's just how I feel. It's my opinion, right? Mod customization screen, I think that is fantastic. I think that the fact that I can see all the mods I have on one screen instead of scrolling through each freaking armor piece is fantastic. I can also see what mods I'm using and what artifact mods I'm using. The stat increase individual from the stat that my armor gives me, so I can see how much I'm increasing my stats by based on my mod selection and my aspect selection and everything else, compared to my normal stats. I think that's awesome. While the mod selection screen is really nice to have to go through all of my mods, I feel like they gutted a lot of mods that can help us out. I would love to see like a Seeking Wellmaker mod come back for Orbs of Power. I think that would be very helpful, especially for grenade builds or longer range builds. Maybe your whole focus of your build is on getting kills with snipers, or getting kills with like longer range weapons, scout rifles, pulse rifles from a distance, instead of running up, hitting them with a grenade or a melee or a class ability. It would really be helpful to have those Seeking Wellmaker mods come back into the game as like a Seeking Orb of Light mod or something, But color coding the mods was a fantastic idea, and whoever designed that at Bungie, props to you. One more gripe I have about the mod selections is that the finisher mods require 3 stacks of armor charge, which takes a little bit to get, especially if you're not using stacks on stacks to get the most charges at one time. So it's a little bit more difficult to get. I'm not sure how effective these are. I haven't personally used them myself. I've been going for faster regens on grenades and melees and class abilities and stuff. But I think that it might require, I think it should require 2 stacks instead of 3, in my opinion. I feel like 3 is a little bit much. 2 seems like it could be a lot better. I don't, like, again, again, I said I haven't used these mods, so I personally don't know how good they are, but I think that 2 is a little bit more fair than 3. 3 is a little hard to get and it's a little more niche, you know. Next we have loadouts. Loadouts are another fantastic quality of life improvement to the game. Loadouts essentially let you save builds that you create and you have them at your fingertips instead of having to go through each armor piece and reselecting each mod or going over to dim, which I highly recommend you guys still use because it is still very helpful to have that on hand. You can save up to 6 base, but you can get 4 more by progressing your guardian ranks, which we will talk about in a minute. But yeah, loadouts are a fantastic feature. I highly recommend you use them even if you use dim right now. They will be very useful for you. Alrighty, now on to guardian ranks. Guardian ranks are a new progression system that you can use pretty much to see how much people play the game. I would say ranks 1 through 4 are pretty much a guided course through the Destiny universe from start to endgame, pretty much. And I would say 5 to the end of the guardian ranks is meant for anybody who's doing endgame content, who is pretty much experienced with raids, dungeons, high-end PvP, etc. The guardian ranks also allow you to track progress and get some extra goodies on the side, like more class slots, mods, and a bunch of other stuff.
Like a theme park.
I think Strand is in a great place right now. We've got woven mail for damage resist. We've got a whole new mod selection system that we can use to get heals and get damage resist and more damage and ability regen. Granted that a lot of things were nerfed with this update, but it's, you know, it was bound to happen sooner or later. And the one thing I really love about woven mail is that when you have woven mail, you have this sound effect. When you get hit or damaged, it makes like a strand noise, letting you know, hey, you have woven mail. And I hope they can do that for other things like avoid overshield or overshields in general. I feel like, or even other damage resists or restoration, because I feel like that's a great way for me to know, hey, I have this buff going on without seeing it on my screen, without having to constantly look down to the left. And maybe I have too many buffs going on at one time, and debuffs going on at one time, that it's not on my screen anymore. It's letting me know, hey, I still have this. It's still going on. It's still active. So that's awesome to see and hear. And I hope that we can get some more stuff like that, like more audio cues, letting me know, hey, I have this going on, even though I can't see it, or even if I'm not looking at the left side of my screen. Overall, I think this DLC, I would give it a B+. You know, the story wasn't there entirely, but it was not terrible, right? The music was fantastic. The guns and gunplay are fantastic. The Strand abilities are awesome. And Bungie is constantly listening to the community right now and asking for feedback about Strand, you know, and mod selection options and stuff like that. So I think a B+ is a fair rating to give this. I would give it, out of 10, I would give it probably about a 7.5, 8-star DLC. I think Witch Queen, I think that garnered, for me, I would give it a 9.2. It felt a little lackluster near the end of the year, but the launch months were fantastic and I loved them. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have notifications turned on so you never miss when I post a video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in that next one. Peace out.